Any fun things? That
Fun
$3
things.
mirror that we've got there from...
Directly from 16 Thorpe Street in Trapilli.
I've still got the whiskey bottle that I was gifted from that place with the little crocheted Christmas sock sleeve over the top. And I don't know what year that Johnny Walker is, but it's a very, very old label.
She's sitting there ready for a crack.
I'd say we could crack it, but we know how much you enjoy whiskey. So. All right, we ready to go?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Well, g'day, everybody. Welcome back to episode 4 of Skip the Beat, a podcast which is loosely based on music. My name is Matt, and I'm here with Katie again. How you doing, Katie?
Very well. Nice to be here.
Yes, we've been doing this weekly thing now, week 4.
Mm-hmm.
You've locked us in, and we've kept to it.
We have. Well
Now,
done us.
To kick things right off, I've been meaning to ask you, have you got a Hive report for us?
Oh, dear. Does that count as pun of the
No,
week?
that's
Or
not
do
pun
we,
of the week.
Do we have to endure another one later?
I had to write it down so I remembered. Hive been meaning to ask you.
I am pleased to report that I am bringing about 80% less hives to the record tonight.
That is great.
It's great for me.
Yeah.
And you.
You still have no idea what happened?
No, some sort of weird allergy. Yeah, just
Don't
out
know
of
if
nowhere.
It was touch, eat.
No idea.
There's
no idea.
Shrubbery near your house that you brushed up
No,
against.
no unusual shrubbery in my life over the last week or weird flocks of insects. Not sure.
One thing that you mentioned is you seem to have a big apology to make to the listeners this week. You said that you needed some time.
We needed to block out about 10 minutes on the whiteboard for me to really confess, a big moment of confession. And it is actually, I mean, you are complicit in this lie that we have told our listeners. Well, I have told our listeners.
I got told to go along with it.
You just did as you were told. Last week, I very, very confidently suggested that I, in fact, came up with the sound for Remember That Time.
Which, if you did miss that, is this sound.
Very, very, very confidently proclaimed that I recorded that, mastered it, mixed it,
Put it on the
put it
on the device.
machine. I did 0% of those things other than tell Matthew, I want one of those sounds that's like when you're in like a dreamland or like a... And then Matthew proceeded to do all of the other steps that I pretended I
Look
had
up
done.
royalty-free wind chime percussion sounds, and we found it.
we did.
But you've confessed, which is...
Yeah, that's
the
the
first
first.
step.
Yeah, that's the first thing that we needed to really step. That I needed to step up to the plate and just lay it out there. Yeah, it is
Well,
true. I
you've
have
been
zero
honest.
technical skills, and I do beg for everyone's forgiveness.
Now, again, there's no apology needed for pun of the week, although you mentioned you might have had some feedback on that as well. There's still feedback coming in thick and fast. I've got some as well, but you can go first by all means.
I don't know. I've got a small amount of feedback, and let me get to that just now.
A few moments later.
I've written a few things down. So, good friend of the pod. I don't know if I'll name names yet, but good friend of the pod sent me a personal message saying, Matt's music pun of the week. I neither laughed nor groaned, just stared into space vacantly.
Okay, so is that a positive or a negative for pun of the week? Were they
I don't know.
mesmerised by it, or
You think speechless, rendered
Maybe.
speechless by the brilliance.
maybe?
Yeah, I didn't take it that way, I got to say. That's not how I read that feedback. And my other little bit of feedback for pun of the week was Katie's reaction to pun of the week seems a little fake. She has laughed too much. The Katie I know would just say nope and move on.
Okay. Well, look, I watched that clip because we put a social media video together for it. So I had to get the timing right and watched it no less than 25 times. And your reaction was instant. And look, I have to argue the point.
You're going to call it genuine, are you?
I reckon that was 74% genuine to that.
That's a tidy
Which is
stat
fine.
you've pulled out of somewhere.
That's a B+, I think. So,
You
or a
would-
solid B at best.
Yeah. Well, what feedback did you have? I'm going to assume that yours is on the more positive side than mine. You seem to be getting all this very positive feedback for your pun of the week.
Just recently, as in this afternoon, there was listener Nikki who said that elicited a giggle from me.
Oh, Nikki.
Yeah, so thank you, Nikki.
Disappointing, Nikki. I'll allow it though. We are an equal opportunity podcast, so I'll allow that feedback.
And while we're on that topic, I think just we need to jump across to the feedback we received from what do we call our listeners.
Okay.
I think it's very safe to say Pouchies is out.
Pouchies is out, and for that I give a wholehearted thank you to you listeners.
So I think we leave it another week
Okay, yeah, sounds good.
because I think the front runner would be Skippies.
That's what I was going to suggest from my readings of things, that seems to be the one that's popped up the most at this point.
Yeah, all the little Skippies out there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, give us your feedback. Would you be happy?
How do you feel
if we
about being
refer
called a
to-
Skippy?
So Nikki, as a Skippy, how do you feel?
Yeah. How does that grab you? I like it. I like it a lot. I like Skippies. I also like Joey's, but I'm also open to something that we probably haven't even thought of yet.
No. Does it have to be kangaroo related?
Yeah. Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Maybe not at all. I would like to lead us now into something that I've been promising for a few weeks, and I've just had the time to sit down. I'm going to try and make it snappy, but there's been some to and fro about a particular thing that we've mentioned every week now, and that is the count. And we've talked about what, whether we need to track it. We need data, more than just one data point that we collect from. So I've spent a fair amount of time this week, and
You've got some stats.
that is time that I am not getting back, PS. That is hours of my life. It's very, very difficult to listen to us prattle on and only keep an ear out for those one or two phrases.
And can I ask, have you done it for both of us?
I have.
Okay.
I
All right.
absolutely have done it for both of us, because the feedback that we got was that perhaps I was a worse offender than you. And so I thought, well, I've got to be fair and equal in this feedback. And
Hit
look,
me.
it is. I wasn't concerned at all after episode 1. It's not even something that had occurred to me that might be an issue. And I'll just remind you were the one that brought it up, and you said you were very disappointed in your performance
My own
in that
performance,
area.
yes. I wasn't pointing fingers.
Definitely wasn't. The only time fingers got pointed was after episode 2, when it was then suggested that I might enter this equation. So if we were to base it just off episode 1, I think the stats show that you were very right to be worried about your performance in episode 1. So episode 1, and what I've done is I've done a combined and because
Ooh,
you'll
okay.
find that we both do both of those things quite a bit.
So have you done yourself for episode 1 as well?
I have.
All right. So
Yeah. Do you want to take a guess?
Well, I want to take if you tell me, I was thinking you tell me what yours were, because I assume it's significantly lower than mine in episode 1.
I mean, you say significantly.
Say just?
The stats will show.
How long was the episode? About 45 minutes?
Episode 1 was 45 minutes,
Okay,
correct.
so I don't think I would be at
No, 43 minutes.
43 minutes. I don't think I'd be at 1 a minute because I wasn't talking, but maybe in a few sentences we got 2 or 3 in the one go.
Okay.
So I'm going to say 32 ums and ahs from me
Okay.
and 24 from you.
You are absolutely nowhere near
Okay.
what it was. So
I'm-
did you say 32 for
I did.
yourself? Well, if you add 100 to that number, that's how many times.
There's no way.
132 times you said or ah. 93 times you said alone, and 17 of those came in the first 3 minutes of the episode.
Were you tallying this?
I was tallying.
Okay.
I had to keep turning the page.
A3.
That's right. 132 times for you saying and ah. So your UAA, your and ah per minute, came in at 2.93.
2.9 a minute.
2.93 ums and ahs a minute. Mine
Wow.
for episode 1, I was at 56, so that's still pretty high.
That's significantly lower.
Significantly lower than you.
Okay.
More than twice me, you. We're about 2.5 times my. So my and ah per minute was 1.24 in the first ep.
So I've got a lot of
3.
improvement I've got to work on.
So I think what comes out in the next few episodes, which we don't have to spend that much time on, is that you recognised you had a problem and you very quickly rectified that problem.
I hope I have.
I did not know I had a problem. I did not rectify my problem.
Is this based off episode 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
So in episode 2, your UAA, your ums and ahs per minute, dropped down to 1.04 per minute. So you had 51 combined.
So that's quite an improvement.
That's a huge improvement. And mine actually got higher. So I went from 56 up to 84 in episode 2. And there was some sections of that in mine where literally within a sentence I said or ah like 6 or 7 times within a sentence. So just complete brain spasm.
I have a feeling it was when we were talking about the and ah, wasn't it?
When we did the that section, I didn't count any of those. When we were saying it on purpose, I didn't count any of them. So episode 2, you got significantly better. Episode 3, you got better again. So you were down to 34. So down to a 0.79 UAA per minute. And I got slightly better, but still not back to where I was in episode 1. So I got down to 62.
Okay. So quite a turnaround from me with the old ums and ahs.
Yeah, a huge turnaround from you. And so I think I would like to award 2 prizes tonight. So I'm going to give you the most improved tonight, and I'm going to give myself the most consistent in the ums and ahs. Overall, if we add up all the minutes that we've recorded, all the ums, all the ahs, you just pipped me slightly. You've still, because you really nailed that first episode, you're sitting at 1.58 per minute and I'm sitting at 1.47.
Oh.
So pretty even, but I feel like because we've devoted a lot of time to this, that we probably will both do significantly better moving forward. I'm not sure I have the energy to do any more stats, but
I'm glad
we'll
you didn't timesheet that because... Put it on the work timesheet.
It was the least fun thing that I did in the last week. I'll tell you that for free.
And amazing content, and ah segment.
UAA per minute.
That has taken, the last 4.5 minutes? 5 minutes maybe?
Yeah.
I think there's one more apology. I've got on my notes here, you had one more apology before we move on.
Yeah, I do. And I think
it's quite a big one. Well, it's not a big one. It's just more so... just to do with the entire podcast, really.
Yeah, it is. It is. And the joint apology is something we both realised together. Well, actually, you realised it and pointed it out in the edit of episode 3 when I think you did the intro, the little tagline, "G'day, welcome." That was my Matthew impersonation. Nailing it. A podcast.
A podcast.
Welcome to Skip the Beat, a podcast loosely based on music. And it turns out for the last 3 weeks that we have been anything but a podcast loosely based on music. What have we been, Matthew?
It's been a podcast heavily based on music.
Quite heavily to quite heavily based on music.
Heavily to quite heavily.
There's been very little content that hasn't had something to do with music. And so we thought we'd rectify that over the next 5 or 10 minutes and do a little bit of chit chat about things that have nothing to do with music, so that we can stay true to our tagline there.
That it's loosely based.
Just loosely based. Yeah, I think I'd like you to share with our listeners what are a few things that you like to do that have nothing to do with music.
Which is a big thing because music is such a ridiculously large part of my life. Mm-hmm. But to steer away from that completely, because I did do my homework and put some thought into it, I'm a dad.
It's one of us.
What, be a dad?
No, who's put some thought into this.
I was going to say.
I'm also not a dad.
Pointing out obvious things is Katie this episode. I'm a dad. I've got 3 kids. I've got a wife. So there is a lot of family things that happen, and finding time to spend with the family is something that, sometimes we have to work a little bit hard on to set aside some time to do it, but we enjoy camping. We've got a caravan, must be nice, and we go away camping every now and again, and really, really enjoy just getting away and spending a couple of nights, even if it's just across a weekend. We have a big family holiday once a year where we go away for a week at a time and head to the beach and do some beach camping. Camping is something I really love, particularly if we can light a fire and sit around a fire. The kids love that, roasting well, not just kids. I love it. Jen loves it, roasting the marshmallows. Outside of that, I do love running. I used to do some cycling with you, yours truly. But with 3 kids and just life in general, I've over the last 18 months completely forgotten what a road bike is. I have not ridden a single kilometre in over 18 months now. It's been that long.
Really?
Yeah, the tyres upstairs, I
Holy.
looked a little while ago, I just need new tyres. They're like disintegrated.
Oh, wow.
So it'd be a big job to get back in the saddle.
Yeah.
But I have enjoyed running and just down in my gym, just doing, your little 5K runs here and there. I have come to love that. And last but not least, most people who know me know that I'm not a sports person. I love sport. I love watching it, and I love going to particularly rugby. But I do enjoy playing some golf. Now, a few people that I play with don't understand why I like golf, because I would be probably one of the worst people ever at the club that I play at to ever play there. But I like to say I get value for money when I play golf, because it's all about
more shots per dollar.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Per swing, I am really getting value for money.
You're really coming out ahead there.
I would say I've gone from extremely, extremely bad to extremely bad over the last probably 12 months. And I've recently made the investment to go from the 30-cent balls that I can get that are filthy that you just buy on eBay to dollar balls. So when I do a round of golf, I still might lose $7 or $8 worth of balls. But hey, look.
Do you think the dollar ball is why you've gone from very, very bad to just very bad?
Look,
do you think it's your skill or just the investment?
Think so. I think it's just more so the confidence. Like it's a white, it looks clean.
Yeah,
it's not.
You feel like you belong on the course a little bit more.
It's not a Huffy brand ball. Like you've got some Nikes.
Yeah.
And I like I'm not sure if Scott listens to this podcast, but I play golf with Scott, and he gave me the advice of when you put the ball down on the tee, make sure you take the time to face the logo up at you, because and then just be like, I'm a pro. Like I'm playing off a Nike here.
Yeah.
Or a Titleist.
Yeah.
Look at it. Be the person you want to be, and you're going to swing it. It's not going to get anywhere near that water. It's not going to get anywhere near the fairway across the other side of the other fairway. So, there's lots of tips. But, look, I do enjoy
Sounds like
golf.
those tips aren't working hugely well for you, but...
No.
But that's
look,
okay.
Practice makes perfect, mate.
Yeah.
And just a lot of practice. So, yes, family, kids, camping,
running,
golf.
Brilliant.
There you go. Is that enough?
That is completely non-music related content.
Done.
Well done. Lay it down.
Hit me.
Very good. Well, Matthew mentioned that we once upon a time did a bunch of cycling together. And so outside of music, moving my body in the world is probably my favourite thing to do. Cycling is a huge one for me. I have ridden bikes all over the world, and for a little while there had some ideas that I might become somewhat of an athlete in my youth. I've always loved sports. I used to be a very good hockey player when I was in high school and wanted to be a hockey-roo at stages. But that sort of, as I got into university, progressed into cycling. So I've been cycling for over 20 years now. And I've done lots of cycle touring, which is one of my favourite ways to holiday. And then Matthew and I did a bunch of cycling. When we were doing this, thinking about doing this segment that had nothing to do with music, I thought that Matt and I were going to have an identical list of things that we like doing. But then I realised I don't have a wife or children. So there's I have probably 79% more time than you do in a week to engage in hobbies outside of things to do with family. So cycling is my biggest and truest love outside of music. I spend a great deal of time on my bike. Did have a really bad crash a couple of years ago, so I've been doing a bit less the last couple of years, but getting back into it now. And hiking, I've spent an enormous amount of money on hiking gear this year because I plan to hike the Overland Trail in Tasmania later this year in October.
Nice.
So that's a multi-day hike, carry everything in on your back. And I did a little test one over Easter, did a little 3-day, carried all the stuff, all the food and the tent and the bed and the sleeping bag. And so that is becoming something that I'm really excited about doing as well. And then not moving my body related would be my other passion in life is Lego, which is also a passion that you share.
I completely forgot to mention that.
Yeah, it's disappointing to say the least, but I mean, I suppose you're allowed to love your children more than you love Lego. I'll allow it. I will allow it. Yeah. I live in a tiny house, which makes liking things very difficult because there's not a lot of space. And I am also trying to be a minimalist, although I'm a little bit maximalist in my cabin at the moment, even though it is tiny. But my walls are beginning to get quite covered with Lego art, which is my newest love in the Lego world. It used to be builds. It used to be kits and builds, but now I'm really into Lego art and enjoying that quite a bit. Just finished off my Milky Way 2 weeks ago. New release. Beautiful.
Is it up on the wall?
It is. It's hanging above my bed at the moment.
You have to take a little snap.
Yeah, I've got a snap. I'll show you later.
Okay, we'll post it on the socials.
Yeah,
Yep.
and it's hanging on the wall next to my... I'm not allowed to talk about music, but this is slightly music related. Next to my signed Cyndi Lauper electric guitar, which is... hanging next to the Milky Way. Yeah, so that's me. So I spend a lot of time outdoors as much as I can, hiking, biking, walking, running. Not particularly good at any of those things, but love all of them.
Excellent. I think we've ticked off, we're now a podcast loosely based on music.
I think we are.
Because that was a good, I think, almost 9-10 minutes of non-music
of probably
related.
not great content.
Yeah.
But that's who we are. Just
That's
getting
who we
to know
are.
us
That's
a
it.
little bit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, the next segment I want to move into, I've got one of these this week,
Okay.
but I think I want you to do the honours of, because it was your sound after all, of doing the honours. Do you remember which one to hit?
If I can, yeah, I do. I created it after all.
True.
If I can just take a moment for you to just take your mind back and remember a time.
So, remember that time. Going back probably about, I think, 8 years.
Okay.
8 or so years.
So I'm mid-30s, okay?
And you're about to do, again, a little music tour, not with me, with another friend that we have who lives in Saskatoon.
Okay, so it's longer than 8 years ago.
It's okay, so it's probably 9 years ago.
Probably 10 years ago, pre-Africa for me.
Oh, actually, it probably would be, yes,
Yeah.
10 years ago. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Where you needed a certain vehicle.
I did.
And
Yeah.
you were driving. It was up North Queensland you were going.
Yeah. I don't know why I didn't have a car. Had I just come back from some travel or something?
I don't know, but you were vehicleless.
I was. I needed to buy a car because we were going on a book tour, if I'm thinking of the correct time.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes.
But you're also doing a lot of music stuff with that as well, with Joy.
We were.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of stuff that we had to pack in a car. I don't know if you want me to give any context around that.
Well, you can in a second.
I don't know what the remember that time is, but I know that the time period you're talking
remember
about.
the time that Katie bought a car with the world's longest tow bar. And on top of that, a white Ford Falcon station wagon.
Yes. It was the biggest bogan Falcon that you've ever seen in your life. I don't know what year it was.
And we'd have to ask. There is a person who you bought it off that we know, and I think he listens to the podcast.
Yeah.
I got reminded of this remember time because he did mention it only a couple of weeks ago to me. But yes, it's got the world's longest. It had the world's longest tow bar on it. I don't know how. Did you knock your knees on it? I just don't know how it was legal. Like the bar that came out the back.
Yeah.
Before it got to the ball of the like. I'm trying to think, would it be double or even more than double the length of you? Just if you envision, try and think of seeing a car with a tow bar, at least double it, maybe 2.5 times it, and that is what the tow bar was.
And the car itself was already 1.5 times longer than anything I had ever driven. I think my car prior to that was a Barina.
It was Barry?
It was. It was old and Barina.
The Barina that had the water damage. When you're a passenger in your car, you're like, don't put your feet on the floor, and whatever you do, don't put your feet far forward. Like, you know when the floor like bends up? Don't put your feet there and push. Oh, why? Of course I'm going to do that. Just gush of water.
There's something wrong with the air conditioner. So if you were running the air conditioner, every time you went around a corner, about a litre of water just went into the passenger footwell. Never got it fixed.
No,
just drove that car for a few years.
Whoever's got that 1994 blue Holden Barina.
Yeah, I apologise because I sold it to you and did not tell you that was going to happen to you.
When you do a test drive, best not to work the air conditioner, or at least let's just drive straight.
Yes, windows down. I prefer the fresh air.
So can you give us just a 1 minute summary on owning the car with the world's longest tow bar?
Yeah, well, it was just the most crazy choice that we made because it was a 6-cylinder beast. So for starters, it was just guzzling fuel. I'd never driven anything like it in my life. But we thought we needed a station wagon. We were going on I had written a book, and Joy and I had recorded a CD of songs that sort of told some of the stories from the book. And so we had a tour planned. I don't know how long we were on the road for. I think it was at least 2 months, and we did shows all the way up to Cairns. So from Brisbane all the way up to Cairns, and then a few on the way back down as well. And we were on just the world's shittiest budget, as all musicians are. And so
did you have a boot of...
That's another story. That's a story for another time. But we knew that we wouldn't be able to afford hotels and stuff. So we had a tent. We had like a big double dome tent. So we could sort of have our own rooms. And then we had an entire front of house set up as well. So we had speakers and foldback, our mixer, Joy's guitar, microphones. 400
books.
Yeah, boxes of
CDs.
Boxes of books, boxes of CDs that we thought we'd sell on the way. And we did. We sold a lot of merch on that trip to help sort of fund us from stop to stop. And so we needed a station wagon. And so I don't know if you must have just known that he was selling.
I think so.
Yeah, it was a guy that worked with Matt.
Because we also had, at that point, everyone that worked at the company I work for had a white wagon.
Yes.
Like there was 5 or 6 of us.
That's right.
I think there was 5.
Yeah, you had a couple of white wagons.
I did, yeah.
You had the original.
Yeah, let me get a new car.
Yeah.
Oh, another white wagon.
Yeah.
But no, in all seriousness, they don't do them anymore. Back then, a station wagon could hold so much shit.
Yeah.
And you could put your family in it, pack it to the roof, and drive. You can't do that now. That's why all these people say there's so many SUVs and utes on the road. I'm like, yeah, that's because they took away the station wagon. That is why there's so many dual cab utes.
Vehicle. Yeah.
So stop whinging about it and go talk to the car companies. Bring back, I'd love, just little off topic, I don't know if the Falcon had it, but I had a Commodore, like, again, couldn't get any more bogan. And I loved the steering wheel, how it had the whole... This is great content for anyone who isn't watching. But you know how you're supposed to drive at 10 and 2?
Yeah.
Like, it had the hole at the bottom at 6 o'clock. So you could just whack
lock
your hand
in.
there.
Just lock in.
Like, seat back, window down.
Just Aussie dad your way through
down
it.
the street, waving, g'day, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just, anyway.
Yeah.
Good times. And then they got rid of it. They made everything smaller.
Yeah. Well, we certainly used every inch of that Falcon. And then my other favourite story about the Falcon is that within the first couple of days, of having it, we were on tour, so we're all packed and we're on the road, and Joy and I must have stopped at like a Subway or something, and Joy was driving, and I can't remember what happened. I don't think I was in the car. I think I was walking back out with the sandwiches.
So you're blaming Joy for this?
Oh, Joy did it. There's no question. There's no question of who did this. So I wasn't in the car. Joy, for some reason, had to reverse out of, I don't know how it happened. I'll have to ask her, but I just heard this like almighty, like this grating, like something wasn't right. So I had parked the car, and I guess when I had, so maybe we're equally to blame. I had parked the car, and somehow the front bumper must have gone over the top without touching it, but I nosed it over one of those little wheel chocks. And so when Joy had gone to reverse it out, something on that the whole front bumper got caught and just ripped the entire front bumper off the car.
Did you ever get it fixed? Someone's driving it.
we eventually did, but not soon. What we did for the rest of that 2-month tour
Ockie strapped it to the roof.
No, we just had all our camping stuff in the back, and then the last thing in was the bumper over the top of everything, just through the back. And then I only got it fixed when I sold it, and I went to the wrecker, and they had the little clip pieces we needed
3-second job
to put it back on. It was super quick job. So yeah, that's the story of the Falcon. I've had a few cars with a lot of personality in my life.
We should do, not now, but we should do a run at some point of all Katie's.
Yeah. Yeah, I bought a brand new car for the first time in my life last year, and then every other car I've ever owned has been at least 10 years old.
Yeah.
At least, yeah. So it's very weird driving a car that doesn't break down.
So I'm happy with that. Remember the time you bought a car with the world's longest tow bar?
I do. It was a good time. It was a simpler time.
And look, moving right along. Straight into Music Pun of the Week.
Bam.
3 weeks running. Why would we stop?
There's no reason to stop now.
And I have to ask at the start of this, it's an Elton John pun. Do you want to hear my Elton John pun?
I don't know that I have a choice, do I?
It's a little bit funny. But all seriousness, why doesn't Elton eat lettuce?
I don't know.
He's more a rocket man. Nothing?
No.
Okay, cool. I just peeked.
You've double punned there.
I did a little sneaky double.
Yeah, you've done a double pun there. The other little bit of feedback I just remembered about Pun of the Week was I've had a person, it was the same person who just stared vacantly into space. Shout out Muir. She also wanted a shout out on the pod.
Muir.
The other bit of feedback from Muir was, is it Pun of the Week? Because sometimes it's just a joke. It's not actually a pun. I think Limp Bizkit was just a joke, really. It wasn't a...
Okay.
So is it Pun of the Week?
Do we need to make a joke of the week? Or just Aussie Dad...
Yeah.
Music...
Or just Pun of the Week, but we all know that it's a bit broader than that, maybe.
I think.
Yeah.
There's
a little query. Just a query.
Yeah.
Just a query while she was staring vacantly into space, trying to figure out, was that even actually a pun?
Is it Music Pun of the Week? Is it Aussie Dad shit joke? Is it what? Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, third weekend. Let us know your comments. Keep them coming in.
I mean, you've hit us with a double there, so I guess.
Yeah. Do I get points for double? Should we get serious for a minute?
Again, you did this to me last week.
Well, I just think, we've had quite a lot of back and forth with, there was the non-music stuff, and then there was talking about the world's longest Towbar, and then whether Matt's jokes are puns or jokes.
Yeah.
But something back heavily related on music. Last week, you gave me a challenge.
Yes, I did.
We were talking about Billie Eilish and how you'd bought tickets to go see her.
Yep.
I haven't checked whether there's any tickets left, but I don't think there are. I think it was a bit of a Taylor situation.
I think it was too, and I forgot to check on your behalf.
Same with Olivia Rodrigo, I think. There was a bit of a
rush.
Someone I work with got tickets to Sydney. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was a bit of a rush to try and get that as well. Anyway, not moving off topic. So you gave me the challenge to listen to Hit Me Hard and Soft, the new album from Billie Eilish. Now, I'm going to read my notes just so I remember, but I gave it, I thought last week, I need to give this probably 3 proper listens.
Yeah.
Because I don't know any of the songs.
Yep.
I haven't listened to any. First run through, I was really, straight away, that opening track, I thought this is really kind of same vibes as her, the one she did for the Barbie movie, the What Was I Made For? I was like, is this going to be the album? Clearly not. Quite a range of musical genius, I would say, throughout.
Beautiful.
Some tracks that jumped out to me, I'll do them in not a particular random order.
Yeah.
Because I had the final listen through it, the third listen today, this
Okay.
morning when I was working and added some notes. So ones that jumped out. Now, you're going to have to try and help me here with the pronunciation. Track number 3, which is like, is it Chihiro?
I don't know how to pronounce it. I meant to
Chihiro?
Google that today.
My goodness, there are some high notes in that.
Yep.
And then just like you get past this and you're like, okay, the song's going to finish. It just keeps building into this like massive 80s synth. I love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. It was like, I was like, is this my favorite track on the album? It's up there. It's not, but it's up there.
Not mine either. I'm almost certain our favourite track's going to be the same, but
I don't know.
Okay. Maybe not. Mine's a bit obvious.
Then track number 6 jumped out to me as well, which is The Greatest,
Yep.
which I think, is that the single or is that the bird one? Is this the feather?
Birds of a Feather?
Birds of the Feather, that's the single, isn't it?
Probably is, yeah.
So The
Because
Greatest.
it's the best song on the album.
Sorry?
Because it's the best song on the album.
There you go. That's yours, is it?
Yeah.
It's not in my top 7.
10-track album, not in my top 7. Okay, mate.
The Greatest. I'm going to say this. Amazing build-up. I loved... There was like a weird time signature thing in the Greatest. Well, it sounds like there's this weird time signature where she does some 3/4 bars, or maybe it's a 5/4 bar.
Yep.
Probably need to listen to that another couple of times to understand exactly what the timing is.
Yep.
I loved how she put strings, particularly in that track.
Yeah.
It did give me a little bit of a flashback to when I've written songs that have different types of images, and I've also then tried to play violin on them and realised I only got one of the two right.
Yeah.
And I should never... That's a whole story for another time.
Yeah.
Me trying
Matt
to play
playing
violin on... Trying to record violin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll get back to that. But for me, it's a weird one. The track I've enjoyed most, I would say, is the raunchiest track on the album.
It's Lunch.
Yes. Absolutely
there you go.
love it. And I was
it's a
like,
banger.
what an absolute bop.
Yeah.
Like this, and just when you listen to it, I was like, the first time I listened to it, I was actually sitting with Nathaniel listening to it first. I was like,
Yeah.
is she singing what I think
Yeah.
she's singing?
Yeah.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah.
And look, go listen. So Lunch is my favourite track. I don't like rating albums out of 10 because yes, there's a handful of albums I would give 10. And I feel that when you can enjoy an album, you should be able to enjoy an album really well and not have the panic of giving it a 10. Because I don't give this a 10. I'd give this, a lot of people think I'm lowballing here, but I'd give it probably a 6.5 to 7 out of 10.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So-
Plenty of headroom there.
So I think it's
Okay.
I think it's a great album. Based off 3 listens, 6.5, 7 out of 10 at best. But
Okay.
that's a great
yeah.
That's a
Oh,
great
it
thing.
is.
She's 70% of the way there.
Yeah.
Like, it's people look at you. You gave me that look as if I was lowballing.
Well, 6.5 out of 10's just only barely a pass, but that's okay.
Well, 50%'s a pass.
You're
isn't
allowed
it?
to, yeah. And 65's not that much higher
It's
than
15 whole points over a pass. We're getting into B minus territory.
Yeah, potentially.
But look,
Yeah.
6.5 to 7.
yeah.
Maybe push the 7 because there's some really cool stuff in there. So
Yeah.
loved it. Thank you so much. Enjoyed it.
Mate, that's amazing that you spent that much time with it. I had another listen this afternoon because I knew you were going to bring your thoughts. So, yeah, Birds of a Feather stand out for me.
Okay.
Probably because I'm a bit simple and predictable. So often the big single is always the one that I'm drawn to. But I haven't been swayed by radio because I don't listen to a lot of radio. So that's just purely from my own listening of that track. I don't even think I knew it was a single. I love what she does with her voice in that song. It's one of the first
Yep.
times you really hear her sing through a note, not in the head voice so much. And I'm like, oh yeah, there's some really different stuff there, and I loved it.
But yeah, I think to add to just one last thing to add, I think the thing that let it down was the final 2 tracks on the album. I just thought, they just feel like I don't know. Have you just done them to get them on the album?
They're long too. They're both long,
I
quite
just thought,
long,
does
over
it-
5 minutes, I think.
Is that
towards the end?
Look, again, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Great album.
Definitely
album.
the thing that stops it from being, in my mind, a 9 or a 10 is there are too many tracks that don't stand out for me. But overall, it's probably an 8 for me.
Okay, so that's
I
quite
think,
high.
yeah, I have listened to it a lot, not sick of it yet. But I suspect that if we were to rate a lot of albums, I'd have a lot more that were higher than you. 'Cause I'm
Well,
a
even
bit
just
of
thinking
an-
about it, I'm trying to think
yeah.
of ones that I would actually rate a 10. Like ones
Yeah.
where I'm like, okay, from flawless from beginning to end that I enjoy every track. Missy Higgins' Sound of White is definitely one. I'd have to give that a 10. I love it. The Paper Kites 12/4, the very first album they did, the one with Electric Indigo in it.
Yep.
That is, I actually was on a podcast a couple of years ago where they talk about like basically what are your flawless albums.
Yeah.
And that was my pick.
Yeah,
for that
right.
to talk about. I love it.
Yep.
But I'm trying to think what else there would be. And I wonder do you believe in an artist, like if they've got a 10 out of 10 album, are they going to have another 10 out of 10? Or do you think artists they get that 10 and that's the pinnacle of... I can't say about... Because Missy has some phenomenal albums. We know how much we love Missy.
Yeah,
I just don't know if I can put it... Like there'd be some 9s and some 9.5s.
Interesting. Taylor Swift has got at least 4 10s for me.
Really?
Oh, heck
Doesn't
yes.
surprise me.
Heck yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I can't even talk about my 10 out of 10s. I can think of a lot off the top of my
Yeah,
head.
like even just, I'm trying to think of different music genres that are...
Alanis Morissette, Jagged Little Pill, 10 out of 10.
Great album.
10 out of 10.
I'd need to listen to it. Silverchair's Diorama for me. That was the album that got me into Silverchair, and then I back catalogued going, what on earth has taken me so long? And I think being a piano player when I was at high school, like everyone was like, oh, after all these years, Matt, you're a piano player, play it. And I learnt it. Yeah. But there's so many great tracks on that album. I'd give that a 10. That's their best album in my opinion.
Yeah.
Even though, like, you look at Silverchair, like Neon Ballroom, like one where they have Healthcott playing, like that is a phenomenal album. But I have to give Diorama, I have to give that
10.
more. It has to be.
Okay.
So Neon Ballroom would be a solid 9.7.
Yeah.
It just, I just think, do artists have one 10 album and that's it? Well, Taylor obviously has 4.
Oh, I know. Yeah. I think when I really love a songwriter, I think I maybe put some blinkers on and I just tend to really love everything they do for a period of time.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm like that with a few people.
Yep.
Definitely like that with Missy. Definitely like that with a few other people as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Thank you for giving me the challenge. I'll have to think about an album
set
to
me
give.
one.
Give
Yeah.
you. I'll come next week with an album for you to
For me to review.
for the following week because
Perfect.
this is a weekly podcast.
It is.
So by episode 6, we're going to get your feedback on the album. If you've got time for an count, you've got time to listen to an album 3
do.
times.
I will prefer doing an album review rather than an count. I'll tell you that.
Anything else to add? 'Cause I think we're basically at the end. Is it?
I think we've done it. We have done it. Nothing else from me. I've got a little gig coming up Friday night I might chat about next week that I'm excited for at the Dubot Bar in Brisbane, which will be a good one. And then into a few more in the coming weeks. Bump a couple of weeks.
When are we
coming
going to
up
George?
For me, couple more weekends. 23rd of June is George.
Okay, 23rd of June. That's it.
That is. Have a great week, everybody. Please like us on the socials. Follow us on the socials. Subscribe and follow us on YouTube and your podcast listening app of choice. We really are relying on people gathering in those places so that we can offer something that might bring a little bit of joy to you, and that's what people actually want to hear.
And not keep posting it on our personal profiles.
That's right.
Going, pop on over.
Yeah.
So, no, thank you everyone who's been listening. We're enjoying it so far. Hopefully you are as well. We will be back next week for episode 5.
Fantastic. Bye-bye.
Ciao.